Cinematography is mainly the study of light. Now, you don't necessarily need to use lights to light something beautifully. You can shoot some wonderful stuff using purely natural light, but it definitely helps to have some lights at your disposal if you need them. And these Pavotube 30C's are some of my favourite new additions to my lighting kit for a number of different reasons, and I'll list them all on the screen right now. I'm not the most technical reviewer in the world. I much prefer to just use the equipment and see how I can get creative with it and how much cool stuff I can shoot with it. So that's what I've done. Over the past couple of days, I've completely destroyed my living room, made an absolutely massive mess, creating all sorts of different lighting setups that I'm going to share with you now.
The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again.
Now, this first lighting setup is a spec Nike product shoot, and this is inspired by filmmaker Ben Hess, who recently shot his own spec project called Liftoff, which I really liked, and I'm taking a lot of inspiration from. Now, I shot this using my 50mm Zeiss lens mounted to my Ursa Mini Pro G2, and I'm shooting in 120 frames per second. And the first thing you'll notice about this scene is we're using a ton of haze. It's pretty key to that kind of alien space look. And then behind the shoe, we've got two Pavotubes, one of them set to cyan, one of them set to pink. And I'm using bold colours there because the shoe itself is incredibly bold and colourful. And you can see I've also set them to flash just to add a little bit of visual interest. It's one of the special effects that's actually inbuilt into the lamps. But then to actually light the shoe itself, I've got a Pavotube above and slightly behind the shoe, so it's kind of like a toppy backlight. It's set to 5600 Kelvin or daylight, and the reason that I've gone slightly behind the shoe is just to create a slight shadow around the front. I didn't want it to look too flat. I still wanted depth, I still wanted dimension, but then I wanted to accent this with another Pavotube off frame left, which is set to cyan, and that kind of catches the side of the shoe. Now, the whole thing is hovering above a 5-in-1 diffuser, which I've sprayed with water just so it catches the light a little bit more. And then underneath that 5-in-1, I've got a red light that's just shining upwards. It's hitting the bottom of the shoe, but it's also illuminating the material, and it just kind of adds to that alien feel. Next up, we have got a frame recreation from the film Joker. Now, I love Joker for a number of different reasons, but the vivid and saturated lighting is definitely something that I found inspiring, and it's something that I was excited to experiment with because I'd never really done it before. So I got Vicky to do her best Joaquin Phoenix impression, and then I just started building lights around her. And it started off with a very toppy key light to get those deep shadows underneath the eyes, and that was set to tungsten. And then we've got another Pavotube behind her set to cyan to get that color contrast, and that's like a practical backlight. And then we have these two kickers on either side of the face. We've got the orangey yellow one, which is off to frame left, and then we also have this teal and cyan one, which is created using a Pavotube off frame right. And then to create the catch light in Vicky's eyes, I just held up a little LED light, and it was pointed directly at her face. Now, it wasn't bright enough to actually light her face, but you can just about see there's a tiny little glisten in the eyes, and that's very important when creating these shadowy eye looks because you don't want the eyes to be totally lost. Setup number 3 is another product shoot, another spec product shoot, I should say. Pepsi Max didn't ask me to do it. It's shot once again with the 50mm Zeiss, and a key with this is the water vapor. Not only in the air, I'm actually spraying it to kind of create this strange watery haze, but also there's obviously water vapor on the can itself, which just looks great as soon as lights hit it. Once again, we have got a Pavotube in a toppy key light situation. That seems to be a theme for this video. Set to daylight, 5600 Kelvin. Then we've got these blue and pink crossing backlights in the background there that are just backlighting not only the can, but also the haze, and also looking good on frame. And then finally, we have this pink accent light off to frame left, which you can just about see on the edge of the can. It just kind of highlights the edge. It just looks really nice. Without it, it looked a little bit dull. As soon as I added that in, it brought the whole frame together, and I'm actually really quite proud of this. What I'm not proud of is my dancing in this final lighting setup. This is inspired by Morgan Cooper, who is a fantastic filmmaker, and he did a little film a couple of years ago with a dancer with this kind of setup where you've got a blue foreground and then these orange practicals or tungsten practicals in the background. I thought it looked great and I wanted to recreate it in my living room. Starts off with a bunch of haze, and then not using a Pavotube actually as the key light here, but once again we've got that top light. This time I'm using a softbox. I think it's 1 foot by 4 foot, and I've got that actually filtered because it's not RGB with CTB and also cyan to give it that kind of bluey cyan-y look. And then in the background you can see the 4 Pavotubes that are all set to 2700 Kelvin, and that's basically it. I mean, it's a really, really simple setup, but it's a strong look, and I just love the way that you can use these Pavotubes actually to design a frame. I'm a fan. So there we go. Those are just a handful of lighting setups that I've created over the past couple of days with these Pavotubes. I cannot wait to use them on future shoots. I'm sure you'll see them pop up plenty more times on this channel. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I'll put some links down in the description for where you can grab these things, and I'll catch you in the next video. See ya.